The moment I did this, changed my life instantly. But the problem was that once I had actually incorporated it, there was no stopping it. My name is Warren Barnes, helping you to create your best and most conscious life by combining both physical and spiritual development. The moment was actually when I started to realize that the world is just this beautiful ball of energy. It's a world of frequencies. And like my favorite quote from Nikola Tesla, if you want to find the secrets to the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. This is exactly what I'm talking about. But the crazy thing is, the scientists, the physicists of today that are studying this quantum phenomenon are actually the most spiritual sounding people on the planet, because these epidemiologists and the ones that are seeing the world from the molecular structure are seeing that every single atom is just energy. It's just this ball of varying densities of frequencies. And that our nearly 100% of our reality is pure vibration. This is what I love to talk about. And I've lived a very, very physical life. Professional sport, farming, and I'm landscaping at the moment. Everything that I love outdoors, love the physical challenge. But the thing was, every single one around me, my family, my friends, my colleagues, no one talked about this stuff. And I had to keep it in. I had to keep it in from the fear of sounding crazy for years and years. I just can't keep it in anymore because I've had so much profound positive change in my life just by incorporating this one thing. It really started to change when I was constantly getting sick all the time. I was constantly getting colds and flus, cold sores, ulcers, this type of thing, to the point where my family actually got so worried that I was sent to multiple different specialists, sleep studies, where you hooked up to so many wires and they monitor you overnight, countless blood tests, all these things for a long time. And there was nothing wrong with me. Nothing wrong. They couldn't find a single thing other than to say that I have allergies. And it was a turning point in my life because I realized that always when I was sick, whenever I was on a low, on a bit of a slump, there was resonating patterns. My eating got worse. My sleeping was worse. My actions that I was doing was worse. I was constantly partying a lot more. I was a teenager at the time. But that's the thing, is you start to see that I realized that when I started to drop my frequency, I started to resonate with all of these other things in my life that were having a negative effect on me. And the classic example that I love is you go out on a night, on a big night, for example, and it might be early hours in the morning, you're finished all the partying, all the dancing, you just want to go home. You're drunk, whatever it is. And always the first thing is to go get the greasiest burger you can possibly find from some fast food joint on the corner. Because you realize that when you start to lower your frequency, you start to resonate with all of these other things on that frequency wave. And I started to understand this, and that if I could lower it, I could also raise it. And that was a turning point that right now, I can actually change my frequency. when I started to notice that I could actually start to make these changes in my life, I could start to actually consciously change whether I'm in a more higher or lower frequency. It opened my eyes and changed everything. Because what I started to notice was the realization of all of my thoughts, all of my emotions, all of my actions are just pure frequencies. They are set frequencies that are constantly changing my life, are constantly changing my being. And that I understood that when I was of a low frequency, all of these things would start to happen in my life. These more negative things, the bad luck, and a lot of these different types of things, because you get back in life who you are, not what you want to be, right? So it is the set frequency that you're at. And it was the realization in my thoughts, it probably just the starting point was that my thoughts were just all over the place. They weren't just normal, positive, or even neutral thoughts. They were quite negative from most of the day. The thoughts that I was having was from a negative point of view. And I just started to realize that this needed to change, because my thoughts changed my emotions changed my actions, and all of those things completely changed the energetic field of who I am. And it changes my life. It completely changed everything about it. This is what they talk about when they talk about manifestations, right? Resonant frequencies is just how people manifest things. If you want more positive things in your life, you need to literally become the type of person that resonates those things. It's got nothing to do with who you are. With who you want to be. It's got everything to do with who you are. And that can't be, you can't lie about that. You can't pretend to be someone else, because it's the frequency of which you're emitting. And this is the amazing thing. And this is what I realized was, it doesn't matter how much that I thought that I was doing well. Life was telling me otherwise. I was constantly sick, constantly just feeling run down, always. There was not one week in my life for years which I felt like I was energized. And this carried on through until I started professional sport. There's a fly in here. Oh. And it started, even though I was a professional sportsman, I was still trying to go through this. And that was that kind of crazy thing. This was one of those weird times where I was trying everything. Let's get this fly out. I think I got out. So, and that's what I started to realize, that huge transformation in my life was actually, I can't lie about this. It is who I am, and I have to change it. But when you do start to change, there's some very interesting moments that start to happen in your life. People will start dropping off. Maybe you'll change your job, or these big drastic changes, but even they can be quite small. When you do start to make these changes, some pretty cool things start to happen. Some amazing changes emerge. Some big, some small. And you start to see a lot of coincidences, to the point where you don't actually believe in coincidences, because you are creating them. You're creating that resonant frequency of a higher version of yourself, which just brings good luck. It brings these amazing things that you want. For example, you might have some people drop off in your life. Nothing to do with good or bad. It is just to do with they no longer have the same set frequency that you do. And that might change somewhere down the line. You never know. Everything can absolutely change, but one thing is for sure, when you start to raise your frequency, everything starts to change. Because you start to resonate with heaps of different things. You start to create new opportunities. And when you start to create those new opportunities, some pretty amazing changes in your life occur. And some you won't even believe. It's like those coincidences you won't even believe. And I've had some pretty amazing ones myself. But the important one is I started to see huge health benefits. I started to see my changes in my health massively. That was the reason why I kind of got into all this. I started this whole journey to start looking at my health. But I've realized that it wasn't the matter that I was focusing on. It was actually the energetic field that was around me. I stopped worrying about all of those physical things and actually went straight to the root core of it, which was the non-physical. And as you're seeing right now, one of the easiest ways you can do it is just change your scenario, change the scene of which you're at. Go away from the cold, dark room into a brighter, more higher frequency area, like a beach. My favorite is actually being in the forest. The forest is my favorite place you can possibly go. There is no better place in the forest. My second favorite being the beach. The sun, salt water, there's nothing quite like it. Lastly, there is one final thing that I want to bring up. Not only does changing your scenario, changing where you are, completely change your frequency, because that is just like the saying, you are who you spend time with. You know, your friends and your family, whoever you're spending more time around, you become. Changing your scenario, just getting out of a bad place, getting out of a place where you feel stuck, and just going to a place like the beach or out in nature, out in the forest. Right now we're just in some pine forest. Go to a place where there's a higher vibrational frequency. I can tell you now, it will change. Just that alone will make some amazing changes. But there's one more thing that I want to let you know. And it's similar to gratitude training. But I wanted to take it to a whole nother level. Because when we're talking about frequencies, just writing down our thoughts and, experiences that we have is not enough. To be thankful and grateful of the things that we've had in that day or that week is amazing. Don't get me wrong. But there's one thing that we can do to absolutely amplify that. And that is about bringing your emotions into it. Now, I have a book at home, which I've started for the last few weeks. I've started writing it down every day. But it's not things that I'm grateful for. It is a book that I've called The Book of Higher Frequencies. And I just write down every single thing that I became aware of in that day that I knew was of a higher frequency. And it will be very similar to things that you're grateful for, and things that are very positive that happened in that day. But the difference is you're becoming aware of those higher frequencies. And when you write down enough of these and make it a pattern, you start to automatically become more aware of the higher frequencies in your life. And you'll realize just how much you're missing out on day to day before you started doing this. And what you do is you train yourself to be so hyper aware of all the higher vibrational frequencies that are in your life. And once you've written them down, you connect with those, every single one of those that you've written down, you connect with it within your emotions. What did it feel like when you experienced that higher frequency experience? What did you feel? How were your emotions? And you recreating that is essentially recreating higher frequencies whenever you want. Whenever you need them, you can just recreate them. And it literally starts to shift your entire being to a higher state. And that's what this is all about. We are trying to raise our vibrational frequency. We're trying to become a more conscious being. And if that sounds like you, please think of hitting that subscribe button, because I'm here to create the best and most conscious community out there. And I want you to be part of it. I'll see you on the next one.